He's the guy everyone thinks is unbreakable until one day he disappears. No warning, no cries for help, just silence. You find out weeks later that he was fighting demons alone, drowning quietly under the weight of it all, and you wonder, why the hell didn't he say anything? Because Sigma males don't scream when they bleed. They don't reach out. They don't wave white flags. They don't want to be saved. And it's not pride. It's wiring. It's deep, ugly programming built over years of betrayal, neglect, performance, and survival. This isn't about masculinity as some aesthetic. It's about how isolation becomes identity and how asking for help feels like dying to a man who's only ever trusted himself. This is a raw, full dissection of the invisible drowning happening behind the most composed men you know. The ones who vanish emotionally while appearing just fine. If you're a Sigma or you know one, this might be the most uncomfortable truth you'll ever listen. 1. Trust was never a given, it was a liability. People don't abandon people they need, they abandon people they use. Trust is supposed to be the foundation of relationships, but for the Sigma male, it's been weaponized. Most Sigmas have early life moments that planted the seed of deep mistrust. A secret told in confidence became gossip. A moment of emotional honesty was turned into a weakness. A promise was broken at a pivotal moment. Instead of building connections, these experiences created a framework of emotional survival. Sigma males learn to expect betrayal not as a rare event, but as the default human pattern. Trusting someone then becomes as dangerous as stepping into a minefield. To protect themselves, they retreat. They develop ultra-independence. They prefer isolation to the illusion of loyalty. And when they're overwhelmed, they turn inward, because experience has taught them that reaching out is often a mistake paid in scars. 2. They were trained to fix, not feel. Some men are trained to feel pain and hide it. Others are trained to convert it into motion. Sigma males choose the latter. The Sigma archetype is emotionally self-sufficient by necessity. From a young age, many are taught that tears are weakness, feelings are distractions, and vulnerability is dangerous. So they don't cry, they calculate. They don't talk, they take action. This mindset hardens into a belief system. Problems aren't for sharing, they're puzzles to be solved in private. And emotional pain? That's not something to express. It's a weight to carry silently, like a badge of resilience. Even when drowning, they still try to be the lifeboat for others. In a world where feeling is taboo for men, Sigma males are the final product. Hyper-functional, emotionally distant, and terrified of anything that resembles dependence. 3. Every favor feels like a debt. If someone helps you, they own a piece of you, and pieces get used. To the Sigma, help is rarely neutral. It almost always feels transactional. Whether consciously or subconsciously, they assume that assistance comes with an invisible invoice. This belief is rarely unfounded. Many grew up in manipulative environments where every act of kindness was followed by guilt trips, expectations, or strings. In that world, help isn't an act of generosity, it's a delayed obligation. And when obligations pile up, freedom disappears. That's the thing Sigmas value most: freedom. They'd rather struggle, fail, or even collapse than trade that freedom for temporary relief. Because to them, independence isn't a preference, it's a form of emotional self-defense. 4. They don't want pity, they want respect. Pity is the knife people hand you while pretending it's a hug. Respect is the currency of the Sigma male. It's earned through control, mystery, and self-mastery. Pity is the opposite. It makes them feel exposed, pitied, and worst of all, small. When they show vulnerability, they often imagine it being misinterpreted, not as strength, but as weakness. And while they might crave connection deep down, their need for respect overrules it. They'd rather be feared than pitied, rather be admired at a distance than comforted up close. Even if they desperately need help, the fear of losing face, especially to themselves, makes silence feel safer. 5. They know people lie. Pain doesn't. Words are easy. Pain doesn't lie. Pain keeps the score. Sigma males have been burned too many times by insincere gestures, false concern, and shallow apologies. They've learned that words often serve the speaker, not the listener. But pain? Pain is brutally honest. Pain keeps receipts. So they trust pain more than people. It becomes the one constant, the one thing that doesn't betray or shift. In a world full of emotional quicksand, pain becomes the firm ground they stand on. It guides them, anchors them. Sometimes it even comforts them. This paradox makes asking for help feel like trusting the unreliable over the dependable. Why hand the steering wheel to someone else when your suffering already knows the route? 6. Their silence is their last form of control. If I can't control what hurts me, I can at least control who sees it. Control is everything to a Sigma male. When their environment spins into chaos, whether emotionally, financially, or socially, the one domain they refuse to surrender is their internal world. And silence is their shield. It's not just about staying composed, it's about owning the narrative. If they speak, they invite interpretation, judgment, exposure. But if they stay quiet, they keep the upper hand. Even in moments of collapse, Sigma males hold on to silence like a final piece of armor. It might be heavy, it might isolate them, but it keeps them in control. And to them, that's more comforting than any conversation. 7. They've been mocked for needing before. Never again. The first time I cried, I was told to man up. The second time, I didn't cry at all. For many Sigma males, the avoidance of help is rooted in trauma, not just personal, but social. Moments of emotional openness that were met with mockery, dismissal, or coldness become scars that never fully heal. When a boy is punished for feeling, he grows into a man who hides. And when that man is left alone in crisis, he blames himself for even considering reaching out. The shame becomes internalized. Vulnerability becomes a threat, so he adapts. He stops needing, or at least he learns to pretend he doesn't. And in that performance of strength, he loses access to the very thing that could save him. 8. They think falling apart is a private event. Some men don't cry in public not because they don't feel, but because their soul bleeds in silence. Sigma males often develop a sacred relationship with their inner world. To them, pain isn't something to be displayed, it's something to be contained. Something sacred, and sacred things don't belong in crowds. They feel most vulnerable when seen in their rawest state, so they've built rituals around private suffering, driving aimlessly to scream into the void, drowning in music alone in dark rooms, burying their breakdowns under productivity. They think asking for help is like bleeding in the middle of a church profane, so instead they bleed in silence, waiting for it to pass. 9. They'd rather be the monster than the victim. If you can't be the hero, be the one who doesn't need saving. Sigma males are terrified of victimhood, not because they think it's weak, but because they've been there before. And the helplessness, the dependence, the shame, it felt like death. So they rebrand themselves. Cold, calculating, controlled. It's easier to be feared than to feel pitied. It's easier to be the villain in your own story than the casualty in someone else's. This internal narrative becomes a wall, a hard exterior that keeps everyone out, even the ones who care. Because to the Sigma, it's better to be emotionally bulletproof than to ever be emotionally bankrupt again. 10. Help feels like a slow death to their identity. You either become the man who handles everything, or you admit you were never that man at all. To a Sigma, asking for help is existential. It's not just about getting support, it's about dismantling an identity built on the myth of self-reliance. They've spent years, maybe decades, crafting a version of themselves that doesn't flinch, that doesn't ask, that doesn't bend. To suddenly admit they need help, that's to admit a kind of failure, not just circumstantial but fundamental. So they suffer silently. They endure long past the breaking point, because the alternative feels worse, confronting the idea that maybe, just maybe, they're not invincible. On a final note, sometimes the strongest walls are begging to be broken. The tragedy of the Sigma male isn't that he can't ask for help. It's that by the time he realizes he needs to, he's already too far gone. He's built a fortress so strong, not even love can get in. He's surrounded himself with silence so loud no one dares speak. He's burned every bridge and called it peace. But the truth is, even the most stoic men bleed. Even the strongest walls crack. And sometimes what looks like strength is just a man who forgot how to reach out. If you're a Sigma, hear this. Strength isn't dying with your mouth shut. Strength is knowing when to speak, when to trust, when to let someone in before it's too late. Because even lone wolves deserve to be seen.